Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled, China Has Built an Artificial Sun. Now, a story has recently appeared reporting that China has built an artificial sun. By an artificial sun, they mean plasma contained in a tokamak in which nuclear fusion occurs. The temperature inside is believed to reach 100 million degrees Kelvin. The article also states that the company called East has managed to sustain the plasma in a steady state for 101.2 seconds. This is less than 2 minutes. What happened after those 101.2 seconds? The containment most likely failed, because the containment always fails. The containment was failing in a project I was involved in as a student in South Africa in 1988. I was solving equations numerically, but no amount of solutions could get the containment not to fail. The reason why it fails is because in the plasma some atoms are ionized, and some ionized atoms recapture electrons and become neutral. And so there will always be some neutral atoms around that cannot be contained by the electromagnetic containment. The electromagnetic containment can only contain charged particles. So neutral particles get through. These neutral particles thus reach the walls, which damages them, because no material on Earth can withstand the temperature of these atoms. And this is what a tokamak looks like on the inside. It's basically a containment vessel, and it generates an electromagnetic field that keeps the plasma inside from reaching the walls. But like I said, some of the particles in the plasma always become neutral and get through, and so reach the walls, and then the experiment fails. So this is very far from a successful endeavor. An artificial sun should be able to operate consistently for days at a time in order to actually be a viable enterprise. Less than 2 minutes is simply not enough to make this a successful enterprise, especially since it has been failing and continues to fail ever since it has been tried. In Article 407 entitled Sun Simulation System, Technology and Power Generation, I reported on a much better way to achieve deuterium-tritium fusion, the same nuclear fuel they are attempting to use in the East fusion reactor. This method was proposed by scientists at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in 1972. The fuel is contained by plasma, which is heated by lasers. The plasma applies pressure on the fuel, which then implodes and reaches thermonuclear temperatures in the center of the chamber. The heating of the plasma is carried out as a series of pulses, with several pulses occurring every second. The system does not require an electromagnetic containment, nor does it require a good vacuum. The fuel system is closed because some of the neutrons produced in the reaction are recycled to produce more fuel. However, this laser fusion chamber cannot be called a fake sun or an artificial sun, because this is not how the sun operates. The sun is not powered by thermonuclear reactions in its core, because if it did, it would never go dark, and the sun has been observed to go dark in all the wavelengths detected by the SDO satellite many times, and typically during the so-called SDO eclipse season. And these images show us what actually occurs. And these images come from the last SDO eclipse season of 2017. And SDO stands for Solar Dynamics Observatory. And the sun, these images where the whole sun is not viewed, the sun seems to be progressively, well, it does actually get progressively darker, but it's supposed to be due to the Earth eclipsing the view of the SDO satellite. But if we examine the images, and these images are 4 minutes apart, and if we represent the Earth with this triangle, you can see the Earth, the curvature of the Earth is almost a straight line here in comparison with the sun, so we can approximate it with this triangle. Then if the Earth was covering part of the sun, and then the images could be explained by us only seeing the part above the triangle, in other words over here, then we wouldn't be seeing the images we are seeing, because there's no way that the Earth can cover that part of the corona there that is obviously missing. So there's corona there, there's no corona there. If the Earth was, if this image was due to the Earth simply covering the sun, then that part of the corona should be there, and it's not. So this means that the corona shrinks back as the sun gets progressively darker. And that means that it is not an eclipse. It cannot be an eclipse. An eclipse cannot explain it. The sun is actually going dark. And there are other things to do with this, like the shape of the curvature here, that cannot be explained by the Earth covering it, nor can the fact that we see complete structures of the sun in the part that seems to have gone mostly dark already. But you may look at all the details in Article 324 entitled Planet X Causes the Sun to be Darkened. If the sun was powered by thermonuclear reactions from its interior, there would be light coming from the sun's interior all the time, and it would never go dark. Furthermore, the sun's surface cannot be at a temperature any higher than 750 Kelvin, as it would otherwise give off visible light even when the light emission process stopped in its atmosphere. And this is explained by this black body spectrum diagram, where you can see that an object at a temperature of 1000 Kelvin will emit light in all these wavelengths. So from 100 micrometers all the way down to less than 1, which is the visible light spectrum. And you can see part of the curve here is inside this region where we have this rainbow, which shows us that's the visible light spectrum. So an object at 1000 Kelvin will emit visible light. So if the sun's surface was at 1000 Kelvin, when its atmosphere lost the ability to emit ultraviolet light, the visible light images would still show the sun emitting light. They would still be there, but they basically show the same thing. They show that the sun is going dark at the same time in visible light as well. So that means that the sun has to be at a lower temperature than 1000 Kelvin, and the curve for about 750 Kelvin, which is between the 500 and the 1000, should have its curve ending somewhere before the visible light spectrum. So it has to be at a temperature of 750 Kelvin or less. The sun emits light as a result of an electric potential which ionizes the sun's gaseous atmosphere. Free electrons accelerate as a result of this electric potential and share their energy with electrons in the outer shells of neutral atoms, which then leave the atom, thus turning atoms into ions. Some of the free electrons are recaptured by the ions and give off their excess energy as photons or light. What causes the sun to have an electric potential across its atmosphere is the gravitational energy in the form of photons, which activates the gravitational interaction between protons and electrons. This interaction is repulsive and causes electrons to move to the outer layer of the object. This is why all isolated objects in the universe have a negative outer layer, all atoms and all celestial objects. Only energy-depleted objects lose the ability to create charge separation and send electrons to their outer layers, and thus start operating as positive ions. And you may look at Article 181 entitled Stellar Course and Deciphering Gravity for more details. So China has not built an artificial sun, but that does not mean that an artificial sun has not been built. The artificial sun we have in our atmosphere, which has been placed there because our sun is no longer shining, operates somewhat like the real sun, as it uses lasers to ionize gas, which thus turns into a plasma and emits light. And you can see here that plasma, which is being illuminated by lasers. It's obviously emitting this pink light. So this is obviously ionized gas, which is emitting light, and that's a plasma. So these lasers are illuminating this gas and creating a plasma. And this means that this is giving off light in a similar way to how the sun does it. It's an ionized plasma, ionized in this case with lasers. Now here we see a sun simulator in the sky, and you can see it's a simulator because it's not perfectly circular and it's not yellow like our real sun would be. It's emitting a laser, and that suggests that these devices use lasers to work and can be used as weapons to start fires, as we have seen in California recently. And you may look at Article 430 for more details on that. And this image on the right shows a similar simulator, but this one has this pink glow around it, which is somewhat like the pink light that we see here being emitted from this plasma, which is being illuminated by lasers. So this is very likely one of the things that is occurring here with this sun simulator, this artificial sun. And you may look at Article 427 entitled The Artificial Sun and Alien Technology for more details on this. We thus have sun simulators operating within our atmosphere which use lasers and seem to use a process which uses lasers to create plasma, which then emits light, which thus operates through a similar process the sun used to operate on, and can thus be referred to as artificial suns. So in conclusion, the thermonuclear fusion that China is attempting is far from successful, nor can it be referred to as an artificial sun, as the sun did not operate in that way. But sun simulating devices are operating in a similar way to the real sun and can thus be referred to as artificial suns. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.